Hey everybody. Today I'm going to talk about Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. I think that's how you say her name. Okay, yeah. So, first of all, this is not the first book I read by her, but it's the first book that I read by just her. The other book I read by her was What If It's Us, but she co-authored that with Adam Adam Silvera. So that was a book that she co-authored. So this was my first book by her that only she wrote. And this is the follow-up to Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda, which they turned into the movie Love, Simon. But I didn't read the first one. It's fine if you didn't read the first one, because even if you didn't see the movie, honestly, like, some things will be slightly confusing, but this really reads more like a spin-off than it does like a second in a series. It's more just like another story in the same universe about a different character with some of the like recurring characters. Okay, but I will say that I did not like this book at all. Like, I strongly was not into this. I mean, it wasn't so bad that I was like, I hate this, or offended by it, but it wasn't good. And it was weird because the book that she co-authored with Adam Silvera, I really, really liked. And some of the things I didn't like about it, I also didn't like about this book, but the other book had so many redeeming qualities that I could get past those things that I didn't like that I also didn't like in this. So I'm going to talk about all those things and the reasons I didn't like it. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about the author and also the way that the book looks, which I guess is weird, but I have some different opinions about the way the book looks. The first thing, the author. While I was reading and hating it so much, I started to get curious about the author's life herself, so I ended up looking her up on Wikipedia and reading a bunch about her. And there were some things about her life that I thought were really interesting and cool and that I kind of related to. One is that she apparently got into writing after she had a kid. And this resonated with me because I'm a parent, and something I hate so much is when you have a kid, or even when people first find out you're pregnant, people start saying dumb things to you like, oh, your life's going to end, or like, you're never going to be able to do anything you want to do again, or like, better make sure you finish all your dreams now while you're pregnant because like your life is over, right? So people say like really ignorant shit like that all the time to parents, and it's very very frustrating. It's also, in my experience, not at all true, because when you have a kid, you do have less time. You have so much less time. You have an indescribably smaller amount of time than you did before you have a child. But because of that, for me personally anyway, it forces you to value that time much higher than you did before and spend it doing things that you really, really care about. So I've actually ended up doing more of the things that I've wanted to do, reading more than I've ever read before in my life, making this booktube channel, writing more than I've written, also working, like, doing interesting and creative things in my job. I've ended up doing more since having a kid, and I think a big part of that is, like, it really forces you to figure out, because you have such little time, what you really want to be doing with that time. You don't waste it as much. And so the fact that she totally just switched careers and decided to like pursue her dreams after she had a kid, I found really relatable. I also think when you have a kid, if you have some kind of dream that you haven't done, it makes you want to do it more because you want to set that example for your kid. Like, you want your kid to see you not holding back and not being scared. To do the things you want to do because you want that for them. So that was really cool, just reading about how that shift happened for her. That resonated with me. So that was cool. Another thing I was reading was that when she first wrote the Simon book, a lot of people criticized her and were calling her out because they were like, well, who's this straight woman writing a gay boy's character? Like, this is appropriation, this is a problem. Which to some extent is true. But she ended up coming out as bi later on. But one of the criticisms she had, or the sort of clapback that she had, was like, I didn't get to come out as bi in my own time, on my own terms. I had to come out as bi as a reaction to you guys criticizing me and assuming that I was just making an assumption that I was straight. And that's not okay. We can't be doing that. We have to stop assuming that people are straight just because they haven't publicly told the entire world that they're not straight. That's a crappy thing to do, and we don't do it in the reverse, right? We don't assume people are gay because they haven't said they're straight, so we shouldn't do the opposite. And that's not really somebody choosing to come out. That's sort of forcing somebody or pressuring somebody to come out in a reactionary way. So I thought that was an interesting perspective, or an interesting pushback on the criticism she's received. I mean, she's still a woman, and she's writing from a boy's perspective, but I mean, that happens constantly. So that was interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna okay, well, I'll talk about the way the book looks first. So first of all, I like the cover of this book. It's very adolescent, but I find it to be adolescent in a fun way and in an appropriate way. And I was also watching another YouTuber talk about this book, and one of the things she said, I think her name is Hafsa Qureshi, one of the things that she said, which I had not thought about, was that the way that this book looks, it doesn't scream to the entire world, I'm a gay book about gay people, which for a YA is pretty cool, because it means you can read this on the bus and not draw a ton of attention to yourself. It means your parents would see this in your room and not, like, then pull you aside to have a conversation with you and ask you if you're gay, whether you are or you aren't. It provides a little bit of cover, which I had not thought of, but it's pretty cool. And now I'm going to be thinking about that all the time when I look at different YA queer books. So that was interesting. The other thing about the design of this book, though, is that when I saw this book, I was very excited to read it because I had read a bunch of books that were like either dry or sad or serious or slow, and this was giving me like suburban, slightly basic but in a fun way, like I spend all my money at Starbucks vibes, and I was very excited about that. And on the inside, at the beginning of every single chapter, there's one of these little like fast food coffee drink containers. So that's the vibe I was expecting. She doesn't drink coffee in this entire book. At no point does she buy Starbucks in this entire book, or any other iced beverage, or any fast food at all. The only thing she does is park at a Starbucks at one point, walk in the Starbucks, see some people she doesn't want to talk to, and then leave that Starbucks without purchasing anything. And that was not the vibes that this cover and the beginning of these chapters promised me, and that was frustrating. No, our main character is actually very much struggling financially and can't afford Starbucks. So maybe her personality is such that she would be purchasing iced coffees every day if she could, but she can't. So makes no sense why she is drinking that on the front cover and why the beginning of every chapter has some sort of iced beverage. Anyway, side tangent. Okay, so I'm going to start talking about like the things that I didn't like about the book, and it's a little bit hard for me, not hard for me, but I feel a little bit bad criticizing this book because it does seem like, based on what I was reading about the author, it does seem like this book was slightly autobiographical in nature, because Becky Albertalli grew up in Georgia. Um, she's bi, and based on what I was reading, it seems like her experience of coming out as bi and how she felt about her own identity was somewhat similar to the character in the book. And I do really like the bi representation in the book. So our main character is only out to her mom, but not for any. She doesn't even understand why, because most of her friends are queer, and the ones who aren't queer are very supportive of the queer friends, and she's seen evidence that they're going to be very supportive. So she doesn't really have much to be afraid of, but it almost feels like she doesn't want to deal with the amount of attention that it would cause, and like she doesn't want to deal with people being surprised, and she doesn't want to deal with having to put the focus on her. And I very, very much related to that. So I really like that representation. I don't think that's a story that we normally get. So that was really cool. Yeah, I like that. Okay, some issues I had with this book. Number one, it does that annoying YA thing that not all YA books do, but a good portion of them do, where they sort of like turn to the camera or turn to the audience and like explain something to you about society that just show me, don't tell me about don't like stop and tell me about this societal problem, just show me by way of actions and the story. So that's annoying. And then the way they talk too is like that way where it's like, and like I swear the world just wants to ruin me, like stop, why are you talking like that? That's not a normal way to talk. And in the other book I read where she co-authored it, What If It's Us, they also do that, but I could forgive it because the characters in that book, in What If It's Us, I was in love with them. I was so in love with the characters in that book. And the characters in this book suck. I mean, terribly. The only one that's kind of interesting is the main character. So at least the main character's pretty interesting, Abby. Something I really liked about her is that she's very mean, and she doesn't really know why she's mean. She has this like pent up sort of anger, and it doesn't come across in like violent outbursts, but it comes across in just saying these little mean things and just not being able to stop even when she wants to stop, and she doesn't really fully understand it. And I really like that, and I could relate to that. I felt like I was similar to that as a teenager. But we don't get enough of it at all. I wanted so much more of that. I wanted so much more of her wrestling and trying to figure out, like, why do I feel like this? Why am I being mean to my mom right now? Like, she's not doing anything to me. I really love that, and I wanted a lot more of it. But other than her, and then the mom's kind of interesting, but we don't get enough of the mom. Other than those two, there's no interesting characters in this book. And a lot of them honestly blend together. Like, a lot of the characters are, like, super earnestly corny or like earnestly cringe in a way that's supposed to be cute, but sort of embarrassing at the same time. And that's like everyone's character. That's Nick's. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you what Nick's character was. But that's Bram's character, that's Simon's character, that's Garrett's character. All three of them, they're like the same character. And then the love interest. Oh no, I guess the love interest is Abby. Oh, her name is Leah. Duh, it's on the cover of the book. Okay, Leah's the one that's mean and is the main character. Abby is a love interest. Sorry about that. Abby is like a non-character. No, she's like, I can tell you not one thing about her. I know that about her smile and that she's really smart. That's it. That's all I know. It was so just completely non-existent character that was supposed to be the main love interest, and I did not care about their relationship or believe in it even one bit. So that was extremely frustrating. Also, this relationship takes forever. They don't actually figure out that they like each other until like the very last chapter, the second to last chapter of the book. And so if you're going to do that and you're going to have a slow burn, then I need to believe in your relationship and really want you to be together. But I didn't care about their relationship, and it took forever. And also, Leah was clueless the entire time. Abby made it so abundantly clear that she liked Leah this entire time, and Leah just acted so clueless to a point where it wasn't believable, and it was just enraging. It just felt like you're just prolonging for the sake of prolonging this book. So that was annoying. Okay. And okay, I'm gonna read you some. I'm gonna just go through and talk about some passages that I either loved or hated, and we'll go from there. So, okay, so one of the things about her to try and make Leah seem like cool and interesting and like badass is that she's a drummer, which I played drums in high school, in an all-girl band. So I was sort of excited about that aspect of it, but I didn't believe that she was a drummer. It was not giving me drummer vibes at all. It was giving me, you just decided to make her a drummer to try and give her like a badass edge, and she doesn't feel like she's a drummer. And I'm gonna read this passage that made no sense to me. Sure, she's going to play by herself. She's going to practice. I let my sticks take the lead, from the bass to the snare, and again and again. Some fills on the toms, some ch-ch-ch on the hi-hat, and then the crash, crash, crash. Doesn't make any sense. If you say I let my sticks take the lead, from the bass to the snare, the bass drum, you don't hit the bass drum with a stick. You use a pedal to hit the bass drum. So you can't say I let my sticks take the lead and then start by saying from the bass drum. No, you don't put your sticks from the bass drum. What are you talking about? And I think really, at least in my experience of drumming, you let your limbs take the lead. Like if you're really in the moment and not feeling self-conscious, which was rare for me, but if you're able to like be present and just play, it's not really your stick, it's like your limbs. You know what I mean? It's like your arms and your legs are just kind of just doing their own things. And maybe she just felt awkward writing limbs, but that would have made more sense. If you're going to go bass to snare, then that would be your feet to your hand. Anyway, whatever. It was just, I was not at all believing this girl was a drummer. She didn't seem like one, and when she talked about the drums, she didn't seem to know what she was talking about. Okay, another thing that I found incredibly annoying about this book is that she beats you over the head with the fact that she has less money than her friends in a way that is not relatable. I went to a high school where like there was lots of mixed income. I grew up very poor, and a lot of my friends were either middle class or just dead up rich. And so I was like, that was a main focus for me in my brain that I was thinking about a lot, and I would vocalize a lot. But it wouldn't just be like, well, I would if I could afford that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not how people talk. So like there's this part here. My friend Nick has a customizable Yamaha DTX 450K E-kit, and he doesn't even drum. I could never afford that in a billion years. But that Shady Creek, she's like, why are you talking like that? And it's like moments like that the entire book, where she's just talking about how much more money they have, but in this way that's stupid. And then related to that, she also doesn't have her dad in the picture. I also don't have my dad in the picture. My dad was not around, and then he passed away. And like, yeah, when you're a teenager, you have all this angst about not having a dad. If you don't have a parent, you know, especially if that parent left you. There's just a lot of angst about it, and some of it is performative. Like, some of it is, I mean, obviously it's real, but also some of it's like, you know, like, poor me, feel bad for me, I'm special, I'm different, I've come up against the odds because I don't have a dad. Whatever, all that is there because you're a teenager, and that's how you feel and what you do. But you don't talk like this. She's like, my dad used to call me Red, back when he used to call me. And it's just like, no, stop it, please stop. It doesn't sound believable. Also, your dad has been gone for how long? You don't talk like that for years and years and years on end. Um, unless you're like, I mean, I guess she is a teenager, but it's like not. That's not how. No, that's not how anyone talks. Okay, then there was like a little mini problematic moment, which I think actually goes into people criticizing her for writing about a gay boy character before. It's like, you see here, like, it is a problem sometimes. So in this moment, she talks about the two gay boys that are dating each other, the couple, Simon and Nick. And it says, and Simon and Nick disappear into boyfriend and girlfriend land. It's like, no, there's no boyfriend and girlfriend land for them. It's just boyfriend and boyfriend land. There's no girl in their relationship. So I thought that was kind of an issue. I don't like when people just put genders on, put heterosexual genders on gay relationships. It's annoying to me. Okay, here was a line I kind of liked. So there were some moments where I kind of liked the writing, and even when some of it was kind of corny or simple, but I still thought it was pretty and I liked it. So this moment, she's talking about she never been with anybody, she's never been kissed. So she's like, imagine going about your day knowing someone's carrying you in their mind. I liked that. It was simple. It wasn't particularly super original, but I thought it was succinct and believable explanation for what you want when you think about what it would be like to have a relationship. This part I really liked, and this kind of goes to the fact that Leah is like angry and mean all the time, and she kind of sabotages her own life, and she doesn't know why. This is the beginning of a chapter. She says, I destroy things in my dreams. I scream and argue until everyone hates me. Then I wake up in tears from how real it feels. And it's definitely extremely adolescent and dramatic, but just that opening line of I destroy things in my dreams and not knowing if it's literal or metaphorical or both. I don't know, I really liked it, and that felt authentic to her character, and I really wanted more of that. That's what I was looking for more of. Okay. Oh, this part was cool too. So she has this guy who's into her, Garrett, and she's not into him, but she's kind of into him. Like, she has a little crush on him, but she's not like really into him, and she's instead really into Abby. But she's kind of going along with it because it's kind of nice to feel wanted, and no one's ever sort of pursued her before, so she's kind of into it. A lot of people online said she really led him on, but I don't know, I didn't really think. But she was kind of a dick to him. She like ghosted him, but also her body language and the way she was acting and the way she was ghosting him, to me, was like pretty clear that she didn't want to be with him. So it's kind of the opposite of leading him on, because she wasn't pretending like she was super into him. But anyway, they make okay, so whatever. So that's some background. So he is around Leah and Abby, and they're sort of flirting back and forth, and they're saying these little suggestive, like, homoerotic things, and he's just into it. He's just like total straight cis idiot, heterosexist douche about it, and he's like, oh, that sounds hot, like, sweet, like, I'd be fine with that. And she gets really mad because she's like, no, you should be jealous right now. Like, you should perceive this as a threat. Like, why are you not, like, if I was flirting with a man, you would be pissed. Like, if you care about me and you want me, then you should be jealous. And so she literally says that. She's like, dude, if you like me, if you actually like me, then be jealous, be worried, be something. If it were Nick flirting with me, Garrett would be like, whoa, competition. But because it's Abby, it doesn't mean anything. It's like it doesn't count. I really like that, and I think that happens a lot. yeah, I just thought that was a pretty succinct way of describing a very common problem and frustration, um, especially, yeah, in with a lot of bi people. Okay, so there's that. Well, this is sort of silly, but so she's getting ready for the prom, and she's like trying to pick out her dress, and she's looking for the perfect one. This isn't particularly great writing, but I've related to it personally. She talks about how she wanted one of those holy shit teen movie moments. And then specifically she says, like Hermione at the Yule Ball. At my 8th grade dinner dance, I specifically went to the hair salon with a photograph of Hermione Granger at the Yule Ball, and I was like, can you do my hair like this? I need to look like this. So that was just, it was just a little nostalgia for me. Okay. Oh, also, a lot of this book was about their seniors and their graduating, and a lot of this book was about, like, how hard it is to say goodbye in your senior year. And I think people have different experiences of senior year. My high school experience was very hard, but also I was terrified and really sad to leave. I sort of knew that I wasn't going to end up talking to most of my friends. We were going to colleges all over the place, and we all kind of verbally said we were going to stay in touch, but, like, we kind of knew that we weren't. And we mostly didn't. And that feeling of just, like, it's really sad, and you're supposed to be excited. There's all these, like, exciting things happening, and everybody else is very excited for you, and you've got accepted in these colleges, maybe. But you're graduating, and you've worked like your whole life towards this, and you're sad, and then that can feel really lonely because you're not supposed to be sad. You're supposed to be excited, which makes you feel more lonely because nobody's acknowledging the fact that you feel sad. And then our main character just takes that and uses it to push everybody away and treat everybody like crap. But I related to that. Okay, here, this was another problematic scene. So, Abby ends up kissing Leah. Leah comes out to Abby and is like, I'm bi. And then Abby is like, well, I don't know if I'm bi, like, I don't think I am, or maybe I am. And then Leah gets really pissed off because she's like, well, if that was just some throwaway experimentation kiss to you, like, that's a problem because that was my first kiss. And it was serious to me, which is all valid, interesting, good conversation, good argument, whatever. Then fast forward a little bit, and Abby's like, well, I think I'm low-key bi, and I think I'm a little bit bi. And then Leah just freaks out at her and is like, no, that's not a thing. You're either bi or you're not bi. You can't be low-key bi. You can't be a little bit bi. And I think it's believable that they would have that argument, but, like, I didn't like that the author didn't examine that at all, or, like, never sort of had any commentary on that, because I think it's totally, you can be low-key bi. You can be a little bit bi. It's fine. You can have that identity. I don't want kids to feel like, one of the things for me personally that made it take so long for me to figure out my own sexuality was, like, I thought to be bi you had to be 50% into one gender and then 50% into one other gender. And that lie of what it means to be bi made it so that it took me a really long time to figure out that I was bi, because I was like, well, I'm not that into girls. Like, I like them sometimes, but really not that much. So it just made it take way longer. And so when I think about why I am, like, this is going to be in the hands of kids, I don't want them to read that and think that. It just felt irresponsible to not deal with that argument at all. It's fine. You can be low-key bi, kids. You can be as bi as you want. You can walk around and be like, I'm 5% bi. Go ahead. Awesome. I'm so happy for you. So there was that. This is another example of like a simple writing, almost not cliche. Well, yeah, cliche, or like not a new concept, but that just hit right at the right moment. And the mom is just talking about. I'll just read it. She's talking about how people, when you have a young kid, are always telling you how fast it goes, and it kind of pisses you off in a way, because it's like, yeah, I know everybody says that, like, okay, keep telling me, like, it flies by, enjoy it now, you're gonna be mad when it's over, and you just kind of are like, F off, like, leave me alone. But then she said, she's like, no, they were right, it is so fast. And it's, I mean, I just started being a parent. It's not even been 3 years, and it's wild how fast it goes, and it is cliche, but it's true. So that, I don't know, I actually started crying a little bit when I read that part, and it was just the way that she wrote it, and the moment in the book when it hit. She's like getting her daughter ready for prom, for senior prom, and helping her do her hair, and it was just, it just hit for me at that second. Yeah, there's another part where she's like thinking out loud. She's like, I don't know why I'm so mean. I just wanted a lot more of that, and like more more frustrated with herself, and more like, I don't understand why this is happening. That's what I was looking for more of. Oh, then there's another part. I hate when this happens, when there's like a poor character or a low-income character, and then like there's somebody that offers to help them, and they're like, I don't take handouts, and it's like, it's just the most overplayed, annoying thing of all time. Like the literal word, like, I just didn't feel like I just didn't want to feel like I was getting a handout. It's just like, stop it. It's just, it's been done many times. Please stop. Please think of a different, more creative way to say that somebody's low income. And that they're independent. There's different ways to do that. Also, there's never any representation of somebody who's healthily ready to take financial help, by the way. Ever. There's either representation of people who are like, I don't take no handouts, even though they're like starving and dying, or people that are like relying too much on help and then aren't able to be independent. And it's like, what about the people that are in between, that are just like healthily taking financial help when it isn't manipulation, and also independent? Like, those people exist. Why don't we write about them? I don't know. Yeah, I guess the only other thing is that, one other thing I liked about this book is that there's a lot of scenes. She doesn't drink, or smoke, really. She doesn't go to parties very often, and, but all of her friends do. And not to a degree that's, like, unhealthy, or that any of them are party animals, but they're just regular teenagers, and there's a lot of parts where she feels really alone, and lonely, because she's the only one. And I also was like that in high school, and she accurately describes that feeling of being really lonely at like a party, and realizing you're the only person who's sober, and realizing that like everyone's laughing a lot at a joke that you as a sober person are like, it wasn't that funny, but it sucks that they're all having a good time and I'm not having a good time, because I'm able to see that this joke wasn't funny, and like maybe they look silly right now, but like they're having a good time and I'm not, and it sucks and it's lonely. So I related to that, because I also didn't really drink or smoke in high school, and most of my friends did. That's pretty much it. At the very back of this book, they have a preview for the book that I did read, which was the other book that I read, like I said, that she co-authored, which was What If It's Us. And so because they had the preview, it was like the first chapter, I reread it, and it's so much better. And I wonder if it's because is it Adam Silvera that's like bringing the writing that I really like into it, or is it just that she did a better job on that book? I don't know, and I don't know if I care enough to read anything else that she wrote by herself to find out. So I don't know. Overall, I didn't really like this book. It didn't really work for me. But there were some things I liked about it. Okay. Bye, everybody.